Not on a bike. It is Tuesday, March 18th. Yeah, because tomorrow's the 19th. Closer and closer to equinox. I'm going to sing a little bit, and then I want to read a little bit from this book, Bird by Anne Lamott. It's a book about writing, but this particular chapter, I feel like it embodies a lot of the thought processes of life. And I love the way that the author, Anne Lamott, brings it all in. So I'll share that with you. So I'm going to sing the Ganesha mantra now. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. I'm going to mess around a little bit and see if I want to change anything. So Ganesha is about clearing the path, protecting the root chakra, so grounded in life with a clear path. Always the essence of purifying body, mind, and speech. Body, mind, and speech. Slowly but surely releasing the things that don't serve us. The qualities like judgment and aversion and anger. And what else? Let me see if I can find them all. This little book is another little treasure. I'll share it with you. Let me just find the chart that I'm looking for that names, there it was, the properties of the things that I'm talking about. Okay. Anger, aversion, desire, attachment, ignorance, delusion. Anger, aversion, desire, attachment, ignorance, delusion. You can imagine what life would be like without those, if we were pure, if we were free from those. And then at the same time, it's hard to imagine life without those, because the subtleties of those emotions are so intertwined in our being. And so this is what I love about Tibetan Buddhism, and of course yoga, Tibetan yoga, is the practices help rid us of this without the constant overthinking of it, right? So the practices clear our path, right? Like the Ganesh, for us to be able to see. And when we can see, right, when we have a clear heart, we can follow that with more ease instead of trying to figure out why, right? So when we just sort of clear a path, the why ends up almost naturally, like it's there, it's constantly there. But to see, to have a clearing, oh, there's my true nature. Let me do these more so I can see who I really am even more. And then the other stuff can sort of dissipate. Anyway, this is called Nejang. Nejang, Nejang, Tibetan Self-Healing Yoga by Dr. Nida Chanagsang, Chenagtsang. And something that's just ringing in my ear, this repetitive, yes, was something that Nina Rao said in an interview that a friend of mine sent me the other day. She said in Tibetan Buddhism, when they talk about masculine and feminine energies, divine masculine, divine feminine, or masculine, feminine, sun, moon, the masculine is compassion and the feminine is wisdom. I don't know, just that it's having an impact. I'm allowing it to have an impact. Compassion and wisdom. right? That's the merging and the integrating of those energies that we all, male or female, we carry both masculine and feminine. And in Tibetan Buddhism, you play around with the sun and the moon energies. You don't play around, but you do practices to balance those and bring them together, and purify what each channel represents in or through our true nature, our clear light, our original nature. Anyway, I'm going to sing Ganesh. So if you want to close your eyes and open to a path being clear. And another thing that I just want to bring into this conversation, because it's something that had an impact on me too, was someone talking about, a woman, female, talking about spiritual practices sort of in a negative way, saying that you can't be spiritual because there's so much suffering, basically, that it's almost not real. And I'm wrapping my head around that. I've thought about it, I think about it. You know, there's so much suffering in the world, and a lot of it we can't touch, right? We're sort of helpless to it. And for me, these practices are the way to help. And for me, developing that balance within myself, discovering, remembering my true nature, my clear light, being a good person, caring for my family and my friends and the people in my life in a way, a mindful way, coming back around, healing relationships. That's my only contribution. I mean, that's what I can't fly around the world right now and help everyone. And I know that they're suffering, and I know that there is privilege. I mean, it's to be able to sit here and sing and be in my yoga studio, and you know, that is, you know, and also at the same time, it's what I was born into, just probably like you watching, right? You are where you are, you're born where you are, and circumstances, yes, they do change, and we have our life challenges, but some people are born in very, very hard places, and they suffer a lot, and they fear for their lives, and developing compassion around that, and working within myself, I feel, is the only thing that I can do to alleviate any kind of suffering around that. So I think it's important that we're aware of that, and that we dedicate our practice, a portion of our practice, the portion of the merit of our practice at the very least, to the alleviation of suffering, having that awareness, getting away from the I, and realizing there's a we around all of it, right? There's a we, there's the pain of the world that we carry within us, and we should not ignore that, nor can we be completely debilitated by that, because we each have our own individual lives and karma. And so the awareness of it and the dedication of the practices, for me, is a way to extend what I can, right? In me, in my own life, the people that I have in my life daily, what's in front of me is my life. And so to live with as much awareness as possible, and love and kindness, and embracing in some way the suffering of the world, and instead of, like I said, being debilitated by that, imagining that in some way what we do helps the people that suffer the most to have a little less suffering, maybe, or just to know that they're being embraced in some way. I'm not sure, but I hope that you understand the sentiment of what I'm saying. So it is important to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge how lucky we are to be sitting here right now doing these practices. And it doesn't minimize the challenges that we've had, because we all have challenges, right? This is life. But all of it, to see the we, hold it in our heart, and breathe love, and know that everything is for some reason the way that it is, and that we can also continue to love and cultivate and generate compassion and wisdom within ourselves, and know that in some way, because we're all connected, that is being extended out everywhere. The chapter is called Shitty First Drafts. Okay, so yes, she's talking about writing, but I invite you to take it in, mix it in with your life, and kind of see how it relates. Because when I read it, I definitely could feel that, and I would love to hear how you hear it relating. Maybe not all of it, but bits and pieces of it. Shitty first drafts, okay? Now, practically even better news than that of short assignments is the idea of shitty first drafts. All good writers write them. This is how they end up with good second drafts and terrific third drafts. People tend to look at successful writers who are getting their books published, maybe even doing well financially, and think that they sit down at their desk every morning feeling like $1 million, feeling great about who they are and how much talent they have, and what a great story they have to tell. That they take in a few deep breaths, push back their sleeves, roll their necks a few times to get all the cricks out and dive in, typing fully formed passages as fast as a court reporter. But this is just the fantasy of the uninitiated. I know some very great writers you love who write beautifully and have made a great deal of money, and not one of them sits down routinely feeling wildly enthusiastic and confident. Not one of them writes elegant first drafts. All right, one of them does, but we do not like her very much. We do not think she has a rich inner life, or that God likes her or can even stand her. Although when I mentioned this to my priest friend Tom, he said you can safely assume you've created God in your own image, when it turns out that God hates all the same people you do. Very few writers really know what they are doing until they've done it. Nor do they go about their business feeling dewy and thrilled. They do not type a few stiff warm-up sentences and then find themselves bounding along like huskies across the snow. One writer I know tells me that he sits down every morning and says to himself nicely, "It's not like you don't have a choice, because you do. You can either type or get rid of yourself." She says kill yourself. You can either type or kill yourself. We all often feel like we are pulling teeth, even those writers whose prose ends up being like the most natural and fluid. The right words and sentences just do not come pouring out like ticker tape most of the time. Now, Muriel Spark is said to have felt that she was taking dictation from God every morning, sitting there, one supposes, plugged into a dictaphone, typing away, humming. But this is a very hostile and aggressive position. One might hope for bad things to rain down on a person like this. For me and most other writers, I know writing is not rapturous. In fact, the only way I can get anything written at all is to write really, really shitty first drafts. The first draft is the child's draft, where you let it all pour out and then let it romp all over the place, knowing that no one is going to see it and that you can shape it later. You just let this childlike part of you channel whatever voices and visions come through and onto the page. If one of the characters wants to say, "Well, so, Mr. Poopy Pants," you let her. No one is going to see it. If the kid wants to get into really sentimental, weepy, emotional territory, you let him. Just get it all down on paper, because there may be something in those 6 crazy pages that you would never have gotten to by more rational grown-up means. There may be something in the very last line of the very last paragraph on page 6 that you just love, that is so beautiful or wild that you now know what you're supposed to be writing about, more or less, or in what direction you might go. But there is no way to get to this without first getting through the first 5.5 pages. And it goes on, and maybe I'll read you more next time. But you can see, that's kind of like, to me, a metaphor of life. It's where we're learning. And not that we have like a shitty first draft and we get to do it again, but it's okay to revisit things. It's okay to come back around to a conversation. It's okay to change, to make changes within yourself and in your life. It's okay to let things out as a review, right? Like, even if you're journaling or whatever happens in your practices, you might discover a part of yourself that you're like, "Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that." And then, you can analyze it a little bit through compassion and wisdom and choose to release it. And wherever that path leads you, you can do that in your life, all in your life, right? So it's just sort of, again, it's kind of lightening up too about life. See a juxtaposition from what I talked about in the beginning of this video to now is, I think that's another part of the we, is to be able to stand in the face of almost anything and feel light and love. Not light and love in that way, but feel light in your heart and feel radiant, compassionate love, where you're willing to face anything with an embrace, right? Letting go of those qualities. And you're not, like I said, you can consciously work to let them go, but you do the practices to clear the path to get a glimpse of your true nature. Wherever that landed, I hope it landed a little bit somewhere and that you got something out of it. And thank you. And, you know, as always, if you haven't subscribed, share with whoever you want to share with. And I'll see you next time. Namaste.